So let's start, Bill. Mhm. So thank you for taking time for the discussion about the economics in Japan and the world. And actually, during your stay this time, I get not enough time to discuss with you, even though we have some dinners and even though we did a gig in live house also. But I've missed the most important thing with you to discuss about the economics in Japan and the world. Therefore, I ask the Bell to have a discussion through Zoom meeting this time. And even though this is Zoom, but this is with your experience in Japan, current, latest experience in Japan for 2 months or something. So I hope this discussion would be very fruitful with the condition you had experienced the Japanese economics and the Japanese situation, and also you during or the immediately before you came to Japan this time. So the cabinet has changed. The Takaichi cabinet is the latter proactive fiscal policy cabinet compared to the previous Ishiba or Kishida cabinet. Even though there is a lot of opponent in the cabinet and in the LDP, Liberal Democratic Party, and in the Diet and in Japan, because austerity people quite much in Japan, in everywhere actually. So, I believe and I think Takaichi-san's attitude toward the fiscal policy is quite proactive rather than austerity. But she cannot do everything what she wanting now. So, but therefore, we have to precisely estimate her attitude toward economic policy. So some are very good in terms of the proactive fiscal policy, but some might be not so good, good enough, might not good enough in terms of fiscal policy. So therefore, I want you to precisely evaluate the Takachi-san's fiscal policy and economic policy pros and cons. So that would be very, very valuable for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So at the beginning, I prepared some graphs explaining the Japanese economic situation. Therefore, in the discussion, I will display and then show you the graphs to explain the situations of the economics of Japan. But at the beginning, I want you to the first voices about first impressions about Takaichi-san's cabinet economic policy. So, shall we start with this stage?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is that Japan is caught in what I think is a vicious circle,
Mhm.
and the characteristics of that situation are after the crash in the 1990s,
Mhm.
the sentiment among corporations changed,
Mhm.
and corporations became very reluctant to invest in the domestic economy. It's quite clear they've got very large stocks of retained earnings
Mhm.
that aren't being reinvested.
Mhm.
And at the same time, they also became very reluctant to pay higher wages and create
Yeah, yeah.
stable, skilled work.
Mhm.
And at the same over this period, of course, neoliberal ideas that are global were superimposed upon that crisis, and employers took advantage of that type of ideology and were only really prepared to create less stable, low wage, what we call precarious work. And so this is the rise of what in the Western world we call the gig economy.
Gig economy, yeah.
The gig economy. It's the service economy, hospitality, food, delivery services, Uber, all of these Uber food delivery services, and a whole range of those type of low-paid work, which the young people really have. That's the only options they've got now. So that's the other element of it. And then, of course, what that leads to is a low productivity environment because the low investment is not investing in the best practice technology. And a lot of your young workers now are working in low productivity, low paid work. And as a consequence of that, the economy has become stuck. It's stagnated into a low growth environment, and the austerity mindset of the government has accentuated that, has made that even worse, because the government hasn't been investing sufficiently either in updating public infrastructure and investing in new technologies, particularly those that are going to help the transition away from carbon, which every nation is trying to achieve, more or less. And so you're locked into this vicious cycle, and the only way out of that sort of what Western economists call a secular stagnation.
Yeah.
It's a structural stagnation. It's not just a downturn in the economic cycle. It's long term. And the only way you'll break out of that, in my view, is for a big fiscal shock.
Yeah.
And that big fiscal shock has to be sufficient to alter the mindset of the corporations, alter the mindset of the workers and the households, so that households will feel more at ease in spending more, not saving as much, and corporations will shift from amassing large stocks of retained earnings and instead investing in new productive opportunities, which in turn will both use better technology, lift employment, lift productivity, and provide the vehicle or the space in which those corporations will be willing to pay higher wages and create better skilled work for the young workers. So that's what I I studied Japan very carefully, and that's what my summary of the situation, and that's why it's really welcome news that the mentality of the cabinet is shifted a little bit away from the austerity mindset towards a fiscal expansion. The only question then is how large that expansion should be. And I think the latest is at 21.7 trillion. I don't think that's large enough to create the shock wave that is necessary. I don't think it's large enough. And the other problem then is a sectoral problem.
What problem?
And a sectoral problem, so an industry composition problem. So to explain that, The problem is that you've got excess workers in the service sector, in hospitality. There's too many workers in hospitality and food services, and you haven't got enough workers in construction. So these sectors are unbalanced. And if the government's intention is to inject a lot of fiscal expansion into infrastructure, then it also will have to accompany that with a plan to reallocate labour from the excess in the service sector towards retraining in the construction and infrastructure sectors. That's the challenge. It's not just a fiscal expansion. There has to be some retraining and reallocation of workers so that the construction sector can. Otherwise, you'll hit what we call bottlenecks, where the expansion will just cause excessive demand and cost pressures. So that's my summary.
I see. Thank you so much. So you pointed out the change in fiscal policy in the cabinet to the direction of proactive fiscal policy is welcome. And that's
Very
a
welcome.
good thing. But 21.3 trillion yen fiscal expansion might not be or would not be enough to
I don't think so.
at all, perhaps. That's too small to change
Yeah.
the mindset of the people. And and also you pointed out you mentioned the composition, or the attitude of the company. So they need to change to increase the wages, to increase the investment, to increase the more high productive, to make high productive jobs important. So that's kind of composition change would be necessary.
Yeah.
So you pointed at it too. But if the shock was enough to change the mindset in Japanese people in many realms, so company composition change you mentioned would be urged. Do you think
Yeah.
so? Mm-hmm.
I think so. I mean, one of the things that's holding the economy back is the mentality of consumers, households, and one of the best way, in my view, to alter that mindset so they'll be more happy to spend in the domestic economy would be to cut, but I would abandon the sales tax because that's been incredibly damaging to the Japanese economy. And if imagine what we know when the sales tax has been increased, in May 1997, again later, the two extra increases, suddenly household consumption just falls dramatically. And so we know it's an incredibly effective fiscal tool. We know that the sensitivity of household consumption spending to that tax is very sensitive. It's very high. And so if the government really wanted to stimulate household consumption spending, then that's a great tool to use in reverse. In other words, cut it. And, I know all the arguments that economists, both within Japan and outside Japan, use to justify that sales tax. But as you know, I don't think that those arguments are valid. I think those arguments are not valid. The government doesn't need that revenue. And the fact that it's willing to expand the net position by 21.3 trillion indicates that the current mindset of the government is that they want to have a larger deficit. And I would achieve that. And in part, one of the things that I would emphasise would be to cut the sales tax significantly.
Yeah.
And what you would observe would be a very rapid shift in mindset of households. That's stage one. And stage two is then working on the corporations to get them to invest more, to employ more people, to pay higher wages and chase productivity. Because the other long-term issue in Japan, as we all know, is that the labour force is shrinking. And it's because the population is getting older. And the net birth rate is negative. And what that means is that your younger generations coming through have to be more productive than the older generations who are leaving.
A lot of gig economy. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's more people relying on a smaller number of people to produce things. And so productivity challenge is very large, and that should be at the forefront of the Japanese policy initiatives.
So I guess the austerity mindset in the government can be seen in every countries in the world, especially in the Western countries. But I feel the Japanese austerity mind is the largest, one of the largest terrible situation in the world because every country has the fiscal constraint like debt to GDP ratio reduction or the other things. But Japan is the only one country that the government have to the government is obliged to make the primary balance surplus rather than deficit. So I think this primary balance constraint is too strict and the most strict in the world. Primary balance surplus is means primary balance constraints means that the government cannot issue the bond at all. So cannot borrow any money from the bank. This is the meaning of the primary balance constraint. But for example, in Europe, they have the balance constraint, but their balance constraint is always a structural balance constraint. So structural means that if the government has lower tax income than the tax income that is expected in the usual economy. This is the structural balance, governmental balance. So therefore, actually, in reality, they can issue the bond, especially in the situation of the bad economy, because the tax income is lower than the usual situation. And also, many other countries have the goal of balance is not surplus, like a 2% deficit to GDP is, or the 1% deficit to GDP is the constraint. So therefore, I think the primary balance constraint the Japanese government take is the most strict constraint. So that is the most important reason for the long stagnation in Japan. Do you think so? Or do you think also the other countries might be more strict?
Well, it varies, of course. Different countries adopt different fiscal rules. They're all restrictive one way or another. They all are all restrictive. And if you look at Europe,
Mhm.
the European fiscal situation, the Eurozone, unemployment's excessive, it's high.
Mhm.
Growth is very constrained. They've had massive crises during the GFC, and those fiscal rules have not helped them at all. If you
Mhm.
look at Britain at the moment, the Labor government in Britain has said our fiscal rules are non-negotiable. They're, they're,
Non-negotiable.
they're
Okay.
set in concrete. And
Mhm.
of course, as a consequence, the economy is not growing very much and unemployment has risen significantly.
Mhm.
So all countries have this problem. Whether
Mhm.
Japan's worse or not
Mhm.
depends upon your
Yeah.
perspective.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
from my perspective,
Yeah.
the challenges facing Japan
Mhm.
are very large.
Mhm.
And it's related to what I said at the beginning about this vicious cycle of secular stagnation.
Mhm.
Japan is locked into a low growth, low wage
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
uh, environment. And in that context,
Mhm.
trying to pursue a primary balance surplus
Mhm.
is really irresponsible fiscal strategy.
Irresponsible.
Irresponsible,
Ah,
not responsible.
yeah, not responsible. Yes, yes, I think so. Yeah. Mhm.
Irresponsible
Mhm.
because with household savings so high
Mhm.
and corporate investment
Mhm.
low, then the only way you can grow in that environment is if the government runs a deficit.
Mhm. Mhm.
And trying to run a primary balance surplus is the opposite of that.
Mhm.
And so I think that abandoning that fiscal rule
Mhm.
and focusing more on the growth rate of the economy, the productivity growth rate, the growth in wages, the improvement in quality of employment are the goals that should be at the centre of government mind
Mhm.
rather than the achievement of a fiscal surplus in
Mhm.
the primary balance. I think
Mhm.
that's irresponsible. It's not responsible,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
and it's holding the economy back
Mhm.
quite
Mhm.
substantially.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the now the Japanese economy has a problem about monetary policy also. So, in the realm of fiscal policy, austerity is the biggest problem. And even though the Takashi-san's philosophy is quite anti-austerity, but still she cannot expand the monetary fiscal policy more than 21.3 trillion yen. I believe she wanted to expand it more and more. And that is one problem. But and another problem is monetary policy. The president of the Bank of Japan had changed a few years before from Kurokawa to Ueda. And
Ueda.
Ueda, yeah. 黒川さんでいいですよね。いいですよね。黒川。いいですね。And Kurokawa was rather, なんていうのかな。金融緩和ってなんていうんですか、英語で。
into fiscal relaxation. So
Yeah.
the
So,
previous governor was more towards the fiscal relaxation,
yeah.
direction.
But
Yep.
Ueda is not so fiscal relaxation person. So he wanted to increase the interest rate. And because he believed, or he was made to believe that the high interest rate is usual ordinary economic situation. So, and in order to make the economic situation ordinary situation, so Ueda believed that the interest rate should be increased by Bank of Japan. This is, I think this is just a quite wrong way of thinking. The interest rate, I agree that the interest rate, to some extent, high economic situation is ordinal rather than the quite low interest rate. But this is just the consequence of the ordinal economics. So the high interest rate is the one index of ordinal economics. Therefore, it is impossible to make the economy ordinal by means of Bank of Japan's interest rate increase policy. But whether try to increase the interest rate, this is one problem. And Takashi-san, you might know that Takashi-san said before he got to be the prime minister, to increase interest rate by Bank of Japan is foolish behavior in this situation. I think just this is just right saying, but she cannot say this as a prime minister now. So, but this is one problem, and some people in Japan say that cheap yen, 為替が安いのが問題だって言ってるって英語で言ってもらえますか？
There are some people here in Japan who says that the weak Japanese yen is no good.
weak Japanese yen. weak Japanese yen でいいんですか？円安って。
ウィークでいいです。もう、はい。
yeah.
相対的に安いっていう意味でよければ、もうウィークでいいですよ。はい。
Yeah, so weak Japanese yen make the inflation in Japan, and the inflation in Japan make people poor. So this is a way of thinking, typical way of thinking. I think I agree to some extent with this saying. Too weak yen is bad for the economy, tentatively. But in the long run, weak yen is good for the export to everywhere. Therefore, it's not so bad. But in the short time, weak yen is bad for the people's life, daily life. So therefore, the government should be proactive fiscal policy, should do the proactive fiscal policy to save the people, to save the poor people. That they can do easily, even though they are austerity, because in the era of yen weak, tax income increased dramatically. Actually, our government tax income 20 trillion yen by 20 trillion yen after the weak yen. So, but they are austerity people, therefore they do not expand the fiscal policy. Therefore, the weak yen just bad for the people's daily life. So this is a problem. So therefore, currently the UEDA should not rise up the interest rate currently. So in order to save the inside domestic Japanese economy, even though yen becomes weak. So how do you think about this problem? This is what I'm thinking about interest rate and the weak yen problem and fiscal policy. These three combined. What is your opinion? How the government should do about this?
Well, first of all, there's the argument about higher interest rates is a very orthodox argument.
Yeah.
And the argument essentially is that, Japan has inflation at the moment. about 3%,
Mhm.
and therefore we need to tighten monetary policy because monetary policy is designed to attack high inflation.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, the typical.
That's the standard
Mhm.
orthodox
Yeah.
argument.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
First of all, you examine what's causing inflation in Japan at the moment.
Mhm.
And the major factors that are driving the CPI, the inflation,
Mhm.
are food prices.
Mhm.
And if you look at the most recent data from the government, it's food prices.
Mhm.
And what has caused those food prices to increase? Well, climate conditions and drought and weather conditions. Now then, those conditions are temporary. So in Australia, we have sometimes a flood or a fire and a lot of rain,
Mhm.
and so our agricultural produce is damaged, and suddenly the price of bananas goes
Mhm.
high.
Because
A
of the
few,
balance of demand and the supply.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then a few months later, it's back to normal.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And once the farmers get
Mhm.
it back together.
Mhm.
And so the point is, ask yourself the question, how will interest rate increases improve the supply of food into the markets in Japan?
Mhm.
Well, of course,
Impossible.
no impact at all.
Yeah, impossible.
And so the attack, even if interest rate changes are good tools for fighting inflation,
Mhm.
that's a separate question.
Mhm.
But in this case, the inflation isn't being driven by factors that are sensitive to interest rate increases anyway.
Mhm.
Not sensitive.
Mhm.
The food prices in Japan will come down again when the climate affects the flooding
Mhm.
go. So that's the first point. The second point is that if inflation is temporary,
Mhm.
which it is in Japan, the overall bias in Japan is still deflationary,
Mhm.
still opposite of inflation.
Mhm.
The overall mindset among households and business firms in Japan is still a deflationary mindset.
Mhm.
Then as soon as those temporary factors resolve themselves in the agricultural sector, you'll go back to a deflationary period.
Mhm.
And so, in my view, it would be really not responsible for the Bank of Japan to increase interest rates at this time.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now, then consider the question of the exchange rate, the yen.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And the yen has depreciated, reduced its value against other currencies. That's true.
Mhm.
That's had some impact upon import prices in Japan. Not as great as a lot of economists have been arguing, because the importers, the wholesalers, are taking some of the higher import prices in margin rather than passing them on to consumers.
Mhm.
So that's a point. But also the lower exchange rate has been very good for your export sector.
Mhm. Mhm.
Has been very good. Now,
Mhm.
I know from living in Japan for an extended period, and
Everything is cheap.
I know from talking to people
Mhm.
that one of the issues in Japan at the moment is tourism.
Mhm.
And I mean, you live in Kyoto. I spend a lot of time in Kyoto. It's overrun with tourists.
Mhm.
Now, that's partly the impact of the exchange rate.
Mhm. Mhm.
The dramatic increase in tourism over the last 4
Yeah.
years because of
Yes,
the
yes,
lower
yes.
yen.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the sensitivity
Mhm.
of Japanese people to tourists,
Mhm.
but in a way you can't have it both ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what I mean by that is that the tourists are bringing in a lot of revenue
Mhm.
and a lot of employment is being created as a consequence of that tourism. So somewhere there's a balance
Mhm.
between too much tourism and
Yeah.
not enough.
Mhm.
Given that they do benefit the economy in terms of providing spending into the domestic sector.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be worried about the yen. I think the yen it's floating up and down, and I don't think it's a major issue. And
Mhm.
I think that the uh, Japanese government has the fiscal capacity
Mhm.
to provide some help to households
Mhm.
to offset the rising import prices.
Mhm.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't try to go for a strong yen.
Mhm.
That mindset is not a sensible mindset.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. So therefore, if that there is no constraint about the fiscal policy of Japanese government, they can save the people who are who are worrying about inflation caused by the weak yen. Mm. So, but the many people criticize the Takaichi-san's um, Takaichi cabinet about the weak yen. Mm, so the Ueda-san might decide to increase the interest rate, and that is very horrible decision, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the Bank of Japan should not increase the interest rate.
Yeah.
I I saw in the Japanese media yesterday that
Mhm.
the Prime Minister has now met with the Governor of the Bank of Japan,
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
and so the Western economists think
Mhm.
that the Bank of Japan will push up rates,
Mhm. Mhm.
but that means that the two tools of macroeconomic policy,
Mhm.
monetary
Mhm.
policy and fiscal
Mhm.
policy,
Mhm.
are working against each other,
Mhm. Mhm.
working in opposition rather than complementary.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think, yeah, I think all that increasing the interest rate will do will be to damage those households, particularly low income households who
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
paying their houses off with mortgages.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what it'll do. And I think that it would be far better for the Bank of Japan just to stay out of it, not do anything, and leave the economic policy changes to fiscal policy at this stage.
So, I think the exchange rate is just a consequence of the economic situations of Japan and the other countries. So I think we don't have to control the exchange rate. Uh, so rather than the exchange rate, we have to control the fiscal policy and we
Yeah,
have to do the monetary policy. So the exchange rate is just a consequence. Because monetary policy and fiscal policy are within the governmental national policy. So they can just change even though if they have their own country's currency. Therefore, the Japan has the right to change or control the fiscal policy and monetary policy. And especially monetary policy is quite easy, quite easy to change the interest rate because the currency is just issued by the government,
Yeah.
generally speaking. So therefore, monetary policy is just a simple thing, and the fiscal policy is also rather easy to change by the government in reality. But there are a lot of obstacles to change the fiscal policy. Of course, austerity mindset is one big issue, but yeah, the final saying, 究極的に言うと、って英語でなんて言うんですかね。
In ultimate sense of the word.
Yeah, in ultimate,
Ultimately, this. はい。
ultimate saying, ultimately, the austerity mindset is just bad. There's no other reason, actually. This is the
Yeah.
ultimate saying, but this austerity is contaminating many way of thinking and many systems, many law systems, and many cultures, many social activities. So therefore, it is quite difficult to change the to eliminate the austerity ingredient in the
That's
society.
that's why you need a big shock. That's why
Yes.
fiddling around the edges,
Mhm.
small expansion here, a little bit here, is not what you need. You need a big shock. Corporations need to be shocked and understand that the system has changed from deflation, because that's been, 25, 30 years of psychology. It
Yeah.
needs to there needs to be a significant shock to the mindset of the Japanese corporations and households to convince them that the situation now has changed and you're going into a new era of prosperity and high productivity and high wages and high employment, and that's what's needed. And
Yes.
small changes are not going to be sufficient.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. And also, for example, during the process of 21.3 trillion yen's fiscal expansion, so we discussed about or the negotiated about the uh, budget size, uh, uh, budget size about the public investment. So we have the 5 years plan about building national resilience. This is about for the big earthquake and the big typhoon, etc. So we have to expand the investment about the resilience things. So we have the 20 trillion yen plan for the investment of the resilience. So for 5 years, that means 4 trillion yen during the year in average. But this 20 years trillion yen plan was made during the previous cabinet, Ishiba cabinet. Therefore, 20 trillion yen is a rather small one. Therefore, I insisted that to do the public investment about resilience more than 4 trillion yen. That is the average yen. So in order to accelerate the plan, investment plan. But in the end, it just almost just 4 trillion yen, not so expanded. The few days before, my friend talked to Takaichi-san about this, and she said that I heard she said that I heard that the supply side of the investment, that is the construction company. I heard the construction company lack the workers, laborers. Therefore, I heard the construction company cannot do the 5 trillion or the 6 trillion yen. Therefore, I wanted to expand the fiscal policy, public investment, but 4 trillion yen would be the inevitably 4 trillion yen is enough for that construction. But we know that they can do more than 5 trillion yen or 6 trillion yen. So I think the Ministry of Finance made this demagogy to persuade Takaichi-san not to expand the public investment. But this is what actually have done before. Therefore, I cannot change. But I can change this her mindset. Oh, no. Construction company can do more than 4 trillion yen. So therefore, in the next stage, next time, in next year, you should expand the public investment. But this kind of demagogy, there are a lot of demagogy to make the government austerity.
Yeah.
I think there are many other things, similar things in all over the realms, I think.
Yeah, I think look, as I said at the beginning, it's true that there are constraints within the construction sector. That's true.
Yeah.
And so one part of the strategy that I haven't been seeing yet is that you've also got too many workers doing too little in other parts of the economy.
Yeah, including
So
the economy. Yeah,
I stayed in a hotel in Tokyo the other night, and as on every corridor in the hotel, there were each time you turned a corner, there were two workers, and two workers on every little corner saying, "Thank you, arigato, onegaishimasu," and okay, it's very nice.
Yeah.
And those workers are valuable. They earn a salary to take home to their families, and they have self-esteem because they're doing a function. But if you took them out of their current job, then output wouldn't really fall in that sector, which means that they could be reallocated and retrained to work in the construction sector. And so policy as well as expansion of spending, there should be labour market policies to encourage transition of workers from one sector to another.
Yeah.
And I think that is where the current government is not doing enough.
Yeah, I think so. So I insisted that while taking the concept of job guarantee program, so I insisted to the cabinet that the salary guarantee program, especially for the essential work like construction and agriculture and truck drivers, taxi, transport, etc. So they need the minimum laborers, minimum workers, especially for the essential work because they are essential. So, but foolishly, foolishly, essential work labor is rather low income, low wage. But
Yeah.
The other gig economy, including gig economy and the other YouTubers, etc., has a high wage. Therefore, the many people are working in the non-essential work in order to get money, get money.
Yeah.
This is a problem. So the most problem realm of essential workers problem is agriculture. You know, the average yearly income of farmers 2 years before is just 10,000 yen, just 10,000 yen. So this is just 0.5%, 0.3% of the average income to of the other Japanese. Why this happened is that they have to pay many things like buying seeds and so many for
Equipment.
equipment. So and they have to pay. But the income by buying the product, the harvest, is just 10,000 yen surplus, $100 for a year. So therefore, I insisted that just to pay by the government to the farmer is necessary because the farmer is very essential for the Japanese country itself. But they never do that.
Yeah.
They never do that.
Well, I mean, you think about
Mhm.
your son and his friends.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't want to go into low wage
Mhm.
jobs where the culture of those jobs is rather oppressive
Mhm.
and the weather's bad in construction and agriculture. In winter, it's cold, and
Mhm.
so how are you going to attract? How do you attract workers into those
Yeah,
sectors?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, the way to do it is to pay higher wages.
Yeah.
And the companies won't pay higher wages
Mhm.
because they're locked into an austerity mindset.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's where the big shock has to come.
Yeah.
And government should do everything they can to improve the
Mhm.
attractiveness
Mhm.
of those jobs that are essential
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
which will be absorbing the fiscal
Mhm.
stimulus.
Mhm.
Because you need to expand those sectors and guarantee they can continue to prosper. And so part of that is attracting workers into those sectors.
Mhm.
And you won't do that unless you have higher wages.
Mhm. Yeah. So the people who have to change their mindset are the most important people who have to change their mindset is the government people, of
Is the
course,
government.
government. So it is easy for them to just give money to the farmers. So I think this is the only one way to save the farmers in Japan. Of course, there are many other subsidies or the law systems, uh, but and also even 関税って何でしたっけ？
タリフ、
はい。
タリフです。
ハリフ。
タリフですね。関税、輸
ハリフ、
入関税ですよ。
ハリフ。いやいやいや。So
ええ
increase
タリフ。
ハリフでいいんですか？
to increase, he's just saying that it must be very easy for the Japanese government to raise tariffs.
タリフでいい？タリフ。
TARIFF。
Tariff.
タリフです。Yes, so,
トランプ関税でね、タリフって言うじゃないですか。はい。
そうです。So I think increase tariff for the product, the agricultural product is rather easy for them, but they never do that. And so therefore, if the macroeconomic situation in Japan get better, so farmers' income would increase because their products will be sold by high prices. But still, as you said, the farmers feel many are working in the very serious, the hard situation, the cold and hard work. So therefore, even though the good Japanese economy is attained, but it's not enough to increase the number of farmers. Therefore, the Japanese government have to support using their fiscal policy.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
they never do that.
one of the ways in which countries can deal with higher import prices is through import substitution. And Japan should be aiming, and what COVID taught all countries was relying on international supply chains was quite left countries exposed. So, for example, in Australia, we suddenly realised that during COVID that we didn't have any manufacturing capacity for medical supplies like masks and gloves and tunics for nurses and that. We imported them all from China. And so suddenly we were in a major crisis without the essential equipment to have our health services staff protected. And what that taught countries, and many countries were in this situation, and what that taught all of us was that we have to become much more self-dependent. We have to become much more self-sufficient. And for Japan, you should aim to be able to feed all of your population domestically through your own agriculture sector. Because one of the problems in recent years is you've been importing rice. And that's driven the price up. So it should be a policy priority, in my view, to look at the things that you're importing and work out what you can produce yourself and what you can't. There's some things you can't produce yourselves, and therefore you have to trade. But there's no reason why Japanese farmer, the agricultural sector, can't produce all of the food that's necessary within your own country. And how you do that, I wouldn't use tariffs. Tariffs are self-defeating. They're destructive tools because ultimately they just increase consumer prices. So, Trump is saying in America, for example, the tariffs are going to be great. But what you're observing in America now is that the importers are just passing on the prices to American households. That's really destructive. That's stupid. So what I would be doing would be making it, encouraging investment into Japanese agriculture, encouraging younger people to see farming as a viable long-term occupation through increasing farm incomes and creating structures, policy structures, that allow the older people to leave the land and not just abandon their farms. Because what I'm observing in Japan is a lot of people are getting very old and just walking off the farm. And so that agricultural land is just not being productive anymore. And so what you need is in that environment is for younger people to see that opportunity to go into farming. It's a hard occupation and it should be rewarded very well. but I don't see
Yeah.
policies at the moment that are
Mhm.
doing that.
Yeah. So I think the balance between the tariff and the subsidy is necessary. Too much high tariff is destructive, as you said. So tariff is a kind of the sales tax, especially for the import and export. But still, it's similar to the sales tax. And the sales tax is quite bad for the economy. Therefore, tariff is disruptive in a sense. But of course, too low tariff is bad for for example, the domestic industry, like the agricultural farmers, especially. So many countries has a tariff system, and the Japanese tariff is one of the lowest country
Yeah.
of tariff. Therefore, because the other countries has a higher tariff level, therefore the Japanese government have to increase the tariff level to uh, make balance. Too much tariff is bad for the economy, perhaps. But the tariff should be balanced between the country. This is the one criteria of the tariff. And mm, if the tariff is high, the subsidy amount, total amount of the subsidy for the protect the agriculture can be limited. So of course, this limitation is not always good. But if even though I'm the proactive fiscal policy people, but still that we know the limits of the fiscal budget, the like inflation rate. So this is the ultimate fiscal constraint, I think. So
Yeah.
therefore, there are always some fiscal constraint. The austerity people's fiscal constraint is just too small. Therefore, I criticize. But I think there is a fiscal constraint in every country. So therefore, based on the concept that there is a fiscal constraint in more or less, so reduction of the subsidy subsidy to the agriculture uh, is not bad always. It's good. So, and in a sense, the tariff increase can make the government to reduce the tariff subsidy. So therefore, I think tariff and subsidy or the fiscal support, it should be balanced, I think. So, and
Yeah.
I think the tariff is too low in Japan, I think.
I don't think so.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. I see.
I think the tariffs are destructive.
Uh-huh. All the
Um,
tariff is just disruptive.
I think what we'll see. I think there's an argument to provide support for an emerging industry
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
to allow it to grow to scale,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
so that its cost structure can be low.
mm-hmm,
But I think that what we'll learn from this current period
mm-hmm,
with Donald Trump's tariffs,
mm-hmm,
we'll learn that that hasn't achieved the purposes.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And for example, in Australia, we've responded to the changes in American policy by not doing anything.
mm-hmm,
We're seeing that if so what happens? Go back to 1985 with the Plaza Accord,
mm-hmm,
where the Americans basically forced Japan to push its exchange rate up.
mm-hmm,
And what you observed from that is that was destructive for Japan, but Japan also found new markets.
What market?
Found new markets.
New market, yeah. I see.
They reoriented towards Southeast Asia, away from America. And I think tariffs have the same impact. What's happening in Australia now is that we're now forming new arrangements with countries other than America. We're diverting our exports away from the tariffs because they are damaging to our exports. Now, it's easier for us because we're not as exposed to the American market as the Japanese motor vehicle industry is. That's clear. But I think once you start getting into a tariff war, where one country pushes it up, the other country pushes it up.
Like Donald Trump's war.
Yeah, everybody loses. And I think what the Japanese government should be doing is providing fiscal support to industries that it wants to expand.
Yeah, I think so.
And not trying to manipulate. No, I don't. I think that history tells us that nobody ends up winning out of that.
I see. Yeah, so I agree. So I understand what your point. And but I want to show you one graph.
Okay.
Let me. Even though this is Japanese world, but this is the tariff of each country, the average tariff of each country of agricultural things, products. And the left side is 5.5% is United States, United States. And 11.7 is Japan. And for example, India, it is in average, it's 124. Norway, 123. Korea, 62.2. And Mexico, 42.9. And EU, 19.5. So unfortunately, Australians, I don't know Australians' number. So
nothing. Zero.
Zero.
We don't have tariffs.
So yeah. Yes. So I agree that if the government fiscal support is much enough to protect the domestic industry, the tariff can be zero. But now the government, Japanese government, is quite austerity in the long history. So, but still, their tariff is quite low compared to the other country. So,
it is.
Yeah. So this is quite terrible situation for domestic industry in Japan. So therefore, if we take the situation that government is austerity enough, so inevitably we have to increase the tariff to protect the domestic industry. So because if the domestic industry disappeared from the Japan, so Japanese people lost every job. So therefore, of course, I know that the high tariff, make the good reason for the austerity. So this is a quite bad consequence of the high tariff. But the priority to save the domestic industry should be prioritized. So therefore, if it takes time to change the austerity mindset in Japan, meanwhile, we need accept the higher tariff to protect.
Yeah, but what are you going to put a tariff on? What goods are you going to impose the tariff?
うん。
どん
That's
な、うん、
あ、
どん
すいません。
な、
ちょっと
どんな
事務局が。
品目に、うん、
ごめんなさい。ちょっと事務局っていうのがちょっと見えてますけど。聞いちゃったかな？
すいません。ちょっと再設定します。すいません。
はい、はい。ちょっ
一
と。
度やるとどうやら、
はい、はい。
しまうみ
So
たいです。
excuse me. So there is a problem of the 事務局. This is the office, Japanese word. So we can delete. 水谷さん、さっきなんかおっしゃったんですか？
今、
はい。
ビルソンおっしゃったのは、
はい。
今の、藤井先生の、
はい。
はい、お言葉を受けて、
はい。
そうですか。じゃあ、どういう品目に関税かけるんですかってい
はは。
うとこですね。はい。
なるほど、なるほど。なるほど。
うん。分かったけど、じゃあ何にかけるのっていう
うん、うん、
言い
うん。
方です。はい。
はい。じゃあ、大丈夫ですか？
はい、お
はい。
願いします。
はい。So, thank you for the question. The rice is, of course, the first thing to
right.
protect the farmer. And the other is, なんていうのかな。うん、えーっと、だから穀物ですね。なんていうんですか、穀物。
Other cereals. The
うん、
first option, obviously, is
う
rice.
ん、
And
Yeah.
the second option, one of the, the
う
other
ん、
option should be the other
うん、
types of cereal.
うん、
Right.
う
Okay.
ん、
So think about the last 2 or 3 years.
うん、うん、
All that the tariffs would have done
うん、
would have been to increase the price of rice to Japanese households even further,
うん、
because the reason you started it having to import large volumes of rice
うん、
was because your local sector couldn't produce enough because of the weather problems.
うん。
So what would a tariff do in that case? It's not protecting anybody.
No,
It's
no.
just
うん、
causing
うん、
increased hardship
うん、
to the people in the supermarkets who are wanting to buy rice, because the imported rice becomes more expensive because of the tariff.
うん。
So that, to me, that's not a very sensible
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah,
What I would have done would have been
yeah.
to subsidize the Japanese households
うん、うん、
for the price of rice rising because of the short supply.
うん、
That's what I would have done,
うん、
because you won't be dependent on imported
う
rice for
ん、
very long anyway,
うん、
because your local rice production is recovering,
うん、
and I would be doing everything to ensure that the local rice production is sustainable
うん。
and attracts new workers into that sector. Tariffs are not the way to do that.
Yeah.
Tariffs just push up supermarket prices.
Yeah. So I understand your point. But I'm thinking about the long-term effect of the tariff. If if we are looking at the short-term impact of the tariff, it's just the inflation, cause of just inflation for the people. But uh, if there is mm, the good domestic market and if there is a high tariff, then as you know, domestic products compete and win. Domestic products can win the other countries. Therefore, the good domestic product is protected. This is the basic concept of the tariff in the
Yeah,
long run.
I
So,
understand that.
yeah. So, and in Japan, so our 食料自給率って英語でなんて言うんですかね。
Food security, yes, food sustainability.
Yeah.
Food 食料自給
security.
率。
food security でいいですよ。はい。
Food security
はい
was
いいです。はい。
100% in the long run. So in this situation, to protect the food security 100%, tariff would work. So, but now the tariff becomes low, and the food security also becomes lower than that. In a sense, this is a good consequence because the domestic product is inefficient, more inefficient than the other agriculture countries. So therefore, there is just right to reduce the domestic product. But for Japanese, rice is a very important thing because, this is a cultural, historical thing, and also rice farmer protect the land everywhere in Japan. Therefore, not only the rice farmer is not only for the food product. So they just protect their culture in every village.
Yep.
They protect every places and every cultures. So therefore, rice is a very special thing for Japanese.
That's right. No, I understand that. But look, go to history. History always teaches us lessons. It always tells us things that we should never forget. And Australia had tariffs in the 20th century, beginning in the early 1900s, for our manufacturing sector, because we wanted to grow our manufacturing sector and we needed to protect it from lower cost foreign producers. Okay, that's a good argument. You put a tariff on and you protect the industry. But the problem is that what we discovered after 40 years, 50 years of tariffs was that unless the corporations, what it does is protect the profits of the corporations. And you get what we observed in Australia was the mindset among the corporations, oh, well, our profits are protected. No problem. We don't have to do much. And so they became very lazy and they didn't invest in the best technology. They didn't restructure their workplaces. And so to become more and more competitive in the world economy. And as a consequence, Australian households were paying too much for manufactured goods locally produced for 50 years, and the local producers weren't innovating and becoming more efficient in their operations. And it got to the stage where it was just ridiculous. It was counterproductive. And even with the high tariffs, the overseas manufacturing goods, particularly from Japan and then later China and Korea, were still more competitive, even with our high tariffs. And so the point I'm making is that, yes, it's incredibly important to Japanese culture to have a viable, self-sufficient rice production sector. I understand that. But imposing tariffs on imported rice isn't going to achieve that. What you need to achieve that, you need strong public support, strong investment into the rice sector. You need incentives for the rice farmers to become more efficient and more productive, because that's the way they will be able to maintain lower cost rice for consumers, and the imported rice won't be able to compete anyway. And consumers will always choose local rice for both cultural reasons, but also price reasons if it's efficient. Trying to protect long-term protection doesn't work. That's what history
see.
tells us.
Okay, I understand your point. Quite well, quite well. So in short, there are the two ways to support the domestic industry like rice production. The one way is direct fiscal based support, and the other is the tariff. And
Yeah.
tariff is quite cheap, but do nothing for the production level. But governmental support make the industry good, efficient, and
Yeah.
produce a high productivity. So
Yeah.
therefore, the government should take the way to protect all the direct support rather than tariff. That's the point.
That's my point.
I completely agree with you. But the problem of Japanese government is they do not take either of them. So they do
No,
not
that's
support.
right.
So therefore they are. So I think anti-austerity is quite a high barrier for the government. Therefore, the higher tariff is rather easy for them. So therefore, if the government, if you do not do the direct support, please increase a bit the tariff to protect the rice farmers. The rice farmer is so miserable situation. This is my thinking. But actually, I completely agree with you. So they
Right.
just support the directory, the industry, domestic industry, if they want to protect.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
food security is going to become incredibly important,
yeah,
and
yeah.
self-sufficiency and in food production is incredibly important for a nation.
So
And
let's show you another graph. This blue line is percentage of direct support to the farmer to GDP. Japan is 20%. So the Japan governmental support to the farmer is GDP of agricultural section GDP. And England 42%, and France 44%, Switzerland 62%, and the United States 65%. So Japan, the governmental support for the farmer is worst, at least in these 5 countries. I guess Australian number would be higher
Zero.
than Japanese one. Zero support?
We stopped providing this sort of support to farmers
I see.
because, and what our agricultural sector is one of the most efficient in the world.
I see. Because you have a wide field, and
Yeah.
the productivity is highest in the world, one of the
Very,
highest.
very high.
I see.
And the government doesn't provide protection on a long-term basis. It
see.
provides crisis
see.
funds if there's floods
I
or
see.
fire or, climate emergencies. We provide support. And we provide marketing support through, export market support in legal terms and marketing and promotion. But the farmers are very efficient now. We used to protect our farmers, but we don't anymore, and they've become very efficient.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So, let me explain another number in this graph. So this orange line is food security percent. The food security percent. Japanese food security percent is left axis is around 37%, Japan. And
Yeah.
in England, it's 70 something percent. And France is 130. And the United States also at the 130. And Switzerland, it is 65 something. So, according to graph, food security percentage of Japan is the lowest in these five countries. I think this is the consequence of low support, fiscal support by the government. But an interesting graph is Switzerland. Switzerland is the governmental support is 62%. It's quite higher than Japan and even EU countries. It's almost the same as the United States, but the food security percent is quite low, 60%. This is because in the Switzerland, the farmer cannot do cannot have the wide wide farm. So the Switzerland is the mountain country. Therefore, the farm is just a small area.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is impossible to increase the high productivity like Australia. So they need the governmental support to protect the domestic farmers in spite of the inefficient land for the farming. And Japan is quite similar to Switzerland. 75% national land is just mountain.
Yeah.
And just 25% is just the only 24% is just for the 平地ってなんていうんですか？
Flatlands.
はい
Flatland.
Yes,
just
only
flatland.
25%. It's flatland.
Just flatland, 20%. So
Yeah.
the Japan is similar to the Switzerland. So therefore, we need fiscal support by the government for
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so the miserable situation in Japan in the field of agriculture, low tariff, the low support by the government, and just a small flat land.
Yeah.
Yeah, so agriculture in Japan would disappear in the future, perhaps more or less, I think.
Well, it's under threat. That's the point.
Mm.
And I think that it should be a policy priority to
Yeah.
increase that food security.
Mm.
And there's various ways they can do that. I don't think tariffs is the way to do that. I think direct support is the way to do that. You go to Switzerland and France and other countries that you've got there, food prices are very high there. So for workers, low-income workers particularly, very difficult situation. I think that you can expand food security without tariffs.
Yeah. So, based on your opinion, I think perhaps the United States is one of the best country about the agriculture because they have a quite strong fiscal policy fiscal support for the farmer, and also the tariff is the lowest in the world.
Yeah.
Lowest in except for the Australia, actually.
That's right. So that should tell you something, I think.
I see. Yeah, I understand well. Yeah, and the tariff is the way of the protect the domestic industry, but the worst strategy to protect.
I think so.
The worst, yeah, I understand the point.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, what one thing the Japanese government could do would be just to provide income support to farmers. In other words, if it's true that the Japanese geography and yeah, it's a lot of mountains and very little farmland. That's true. And you can't possibly get the scale that we can size
Uh-huh.
that we can have in Australia. We have large farms in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
so that's true. So you're constrained in a geographic sense.
mm-hmm.
And in that sense, it may be that you can never get unit costs down low relative to countries that can. So in that case, it's quite easy to address that imbalance by just providing income support, so that the higher production costs of a Japanese farmer aren't passed on in final prices at the supermarket. That's very easy to solve with an income support system.
Yes.
And it's much easier than with very few damaging outcomes than imposing tariffs, trying to address the problem that way.
Yeah.
That won't work. But an income support will definitely work.
Yeah. So, Bill, we talked for 1 hour and a half. Shall we have this short pause? Maybe 5-10 minutes?
That's very nice.
So,
Thank you.
I'm gonna have, so my son come to my room and, and I need to talk a bit, just a few minutes. So let's start 11:45. Is it okay? No, in your time.
Yep.
In 9 minutes. In 9 minutes.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, let's do it. Start again. So, and I also want to ask you about the opinion about the Mar-a-Lago agreement.
Oh, yeah.
So that is Chinese currency problem. So Plaza Agreement 2 for China. So I want to quite interested in that point.
All right. So we'll come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah. 45.
All right.
Yeah.
Righto.
Yeah, so see you soon.
ちょっと待って。すいません。もう一度お願いしていいですか？すいません。
はい、okay. So, then I want to ask you the problem of Chinese currency. The Trump insists that the Chinese currency is too low, like Japanese currency around Nixon shock or Plaza Agreement discussion. So I think I don't think that the discussion about the Plaza Agreement is right. So as you discussed in your blog, so but this time the Mar-a-Lago agreement by the Donald Trump is some sense that I agree. I agree with the Donald Trump's discussion about not tariff about the Chinese currency is too weak. So because the Chinese government is a communism government, and they are still communism. But even though they are communism, they are participating in the free market, worldwide trade free market. I think this is not fair at all because we cannot purchase the domestic asset in China. That is quite restricted because they are communism. So therefore, the demand of Chinese currency cannot be high because they are the communism. But we are not communism. We are free trade country, and therefore the Chinese can buy the Japanese domestic asset and in all the world. I think there is an unfair situation. This is the most important reason why the Chinese currency is low. So therefore, I think they do not, their free trade should be limited because they are communism. Because we cannot purchase the Chinese domestic land, the companies, and the asset. So, therefore, the Chinese currency is consequently quite low. Then they have the very great benefit from the free trade. So I think this is unfair. So therefore, they should not participate in the WTO or World Trade Organization. So because they are the communism country. So if they want to participate in the WTO, they want to participate in the free trade market, in worldwide free trade market, they have to release, liberalize to some extent. Therefore, I think in order to improve this situation, there are two ways. One way, and there are three ways. One way is just for the Chinese country, high tariff is necessary for every country. And the other way is they do not participate in the WTO. The third way is category number two, just for the China to make the Chinese currency strong. This is my thinking. How do you think about this opinion?
Well, have a look at that. iPhone.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Apple iPhone. Where was that assembled? China.
Yes.
How in Australia, this is very expensive. This is it costs a lot of money for an Australian to buy this. Where's it made? In China? Where do most of the profits go? To America. Because the Americans are exploiting the Chinese workers, paying low wages, and taking most of the revenue out of this item back to America. So when you say, and Japanese companies have shifted a lot of their assembly operations, the electronics companies and the car manufacturing companies, they've moved a lot of their operations to China.
Yes.
Taking advantage of the low wage and the low production costs. So it's not a simple story that, China's not liberal and the rest of the world are, and therefore that's unfair, because the Western country corporations and the Japanese corporations are taking advantage of the situation in China to make very large profits that they bring back to their country.
Yeah, that's true.
That's point number one. Point number two is that, yes, the Chinese government provides fiscal support to its industry in the same way that the Korean government did in the 1960s. South Korea. Now, that's very clever. That's a smart strategy.
Yeah.
Every country has that option.
I see it. Yeah.
And China hasn't been caught up in the austerity mindset.
Called up.
緊縮財政に、とらわれてないよ、中国は。
Okay, yeah. Hold up. Yes, I understand.
caught up.
quota. Yeah,
そう
quota.
です。
Yeah.
日本のように
Capture.
取られてないよ。
Mhm.
緊縮に。
Captured.
Capture. Yes, yes. Understand.
China hasn't been captured like the rest of our
Yes,
countries.
that's great. That's
So
great.
all of our countries have been austerity focused,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
while China has been investing in its
mhm,
industry and its technology
mhm,
and its production structures
mhm,
and its training structures.
mhm,
And for all of those reasons, it produces now high quality outcomes for
mhm.
very low prices.
Yes, yes, yes.
And even if the currency was pushed up a bit,
Mhm,
it would still outcompete
mhm,
other countries because it's invested in its people and its
Mhm.
infrastructure.
mhm,
Every country's got that option, but we don't do it.
mhm,
And so I think the way I look at it
mhm,
is that China will become the biggest economy in the world
mhm,
because it has invested in its people and in its industry.
mhm,
And America is going to become a weaker economy
mhm,
because it doesn't do that.
mhm.
And I think that the China will not agree to the Mar-a-Lago agreement.
Mhm.
It's in the same way that Japan should not have signed the Plaza Accord,
Mhm, mhm,
which really destroyed your semiconductor industry
mhm, mhm, mhm.
in the 1980s.
Yeah, yeah.
That was, and as you're better know than I do, but that forced the Japanese government to have very low interest rates and very high stimulus, which created the bubble,
Mhm.
which then collapsed, and that's been
Yeah,
devastating.
yeah. Mhm,
China won't be bullied into that,
mhm, mhm,
and I don't think it's got it. China won't agree to it because there's nothing in China's interests
mhm.
that would lead it to agree to that self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage.
Sabotage.
自己破壊的な、サボタージュっていうじゃないですか。
sabotage.
自分をサボ
Sabotage.
タージュするようなことになっちゃうから、マララーゴには、中国は、同意しないよっていうことをおっしゃる。
If it agreed to that, it would just be sabotaging its own progress. And so I think the rest of our countries would be better off following their example and investing in our people and our industry. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I think trying to manipulate the exchange rate isn't going to. They're so far ahead. China is so far ahead in technology relative to the rest of us that we're going to be left behind unless we follow their example and invest heavily in our industry.
Yeah. So yes. So actually, the Plaza guy was agreement with the United States and some European countries and Japan. So if Japan denied, the Plaza agreement cannot be reached.
That's right.
So therefore, the Malaga agreement for the Chinese currency is impossible. Yeah, I agree with that. So, if so, but still there is unfairness between China and the other countries. Of course, the fiscal support to the domestic country is unfair is made by the austerity European, American, Japanese government. So therefore, this is actually in reality not unfair at all. But still, we cannot buy the stocks in the stock market in China. And
Why do we want it?
Pardon?
Why would we want to?
なぜできないか。
買えるよ。 買おうと思ったら買えるんじゃないの？
So no regulation about the stock market.
No, forget it. The stock market's irrelevant. We should be seeing that the Chinese example is that they've invested heavily in their people, in their skills, in their technology, and in their infrastructure. And as a consequence, they now are producing very high quality outcomes that we can't compete against anymore. And so what's the lesson? To try to stop them doing that, or for us to learn from their example and invest heavily ourselves? That's what I would do.
そんな、株買えないとか、そんなことは、関係ないんだと。なんで、さっきから、すみません、ビルさんがおっしゃってる通り、はい。まあ、労働者のね、人材、それから、インフラ、生産性、そこに中国がやってるように、ドカーンと投資すれば、もうそんなのは関係ないんだと。そういった、品質とね、クオリティ、そのやられる側面で非常に中国は、もう強力な成果を出してても、ちょっとこのままほっとくと、同じようにして、追いつくということを考えた方がいいということをおっしゃって。
So, okay. So, but still, I think the Chinese currency is too weak. Do you think so? So, why the current so weak Chinese currency and the Chinese currency is so weak? What is
Well, I
wrong?
think the Bank of China, the central bank, manipulates the currency. So that's possibly a problem, but I think that's not the major issue, because if the currency increases in its value, they still are more productive,
Yeah.
even with the higher currency. But also with the higher currency, foreign companies who use Chinese labor and infrastructure to make profits will be disadvantaged. They will be disadvantaged if we force the Chinese to push its currency up. All of the American firms and Japanese firms that go into China and use their cheap labor, they'll be disadvantaged as well.
So, why I'm stick to the problem of China currency weak is that the other day I researched about the iron market. Iron market, the Japanese steel market.
Yeah.
So Japanese steel used to be the number one production in the world. And the United States was used to be the number one, but after the United States, Japanese steel is the strongest in the world. But after the Chinese entered the WTO, or Chinese production increases rapidly. So now Chinese steel production is 10 times to the Japan. And the Japanese steel production and the United States production is almost same level.
Yeah.
So of course this is there are some reasons for that situation. One is the Chinese steel company was supported heavily by the government, but the United States steel company and the Japanese steel company are not supported enough. This is one reason.
Not anymore, but previously they were.
今はそうじゃないけど、前はそうだったね。
In United States and in Japan, you mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, the other point is that China's population is huge.
Yes.
So obviously they've got more labor to work on these things.
Yes, that's another point, actually. So,
And the other point is that Japan and America and Australia are at different stages of economic development. relative to China.
Mhm.
China is coming from being a very poor country
Mhm.
to rapidly industrializing,
There are low labor, low wages, therefore.
rapidly industrializing. But countries like Japan and America and Australia are past that stage. We're into post-industrial development stage. And so just give it time. Eventually, and China's been developing around its coastline and building big shipping ports and they've been locating industry and labor along the coast. They can't keep doing that, so they're going to have to go into higher cost production as they move out away from the coast because transport costs are going to rise. And so as they mature and enter their post-industrial phase, their real wages are going to go up, their transport costs are going to go up, their cost advantage is going to diminish because they're entering the phase of development that Japan's already in. You're past the Chinese development stage. You don't need a big steel industry as much as they do. Australia used to have a steel industry. We don't have a steel industry anymore. But we have very high tech industries and high quality services.
So I agree with you on that point, but still, as you said, the Bank of China is manipulating the exchange rate of Chinese currency. So therefore, there are two reasons for the strong steel companies industry in China. Is that one is governmental support and the poor country to rich countries process. This is the two reasons. And third reason is currency manipulation. So if the currency manipulation has not been existing, the Chinese strongness is not high enough like today. So I agree that I understand that governmental support and industrial process stage, the Chinese stage is a good reason for strong China steel industry, but manipulation is unfair, I think. Therefore, we should make some agreement about to stop the manipulation of the lower currency of China. So because I discussed with the steel company, the Japanese steel company people, so that they still have a good high skill of steel. Perhaps their skill is more than the United States and all of the world, even more than China, perhaps the top technology. But still, they cannot win the competition between the China because of the weak currency of China.
Right.
So I think we should stop to protect the United States steel company, the Japanese steel company, the European steel company, Australian steel company. We should stop manipulation of Chinese government about currency.
Yeah, I agree, but the question is that the point is you're not going to get the Chinese to agree.
Yes.
That's the problem.
That's a problem.
So we need to work out different solutions that Japan can manage themselves, because China's never going to agree to kill its own economy.
Yeah.
The circumstances in 1985 when Japan and Germany and Britain agreed to the Plaza Accord are quite
Mm.
different to what they are now.
Yeah. So Japanese government agreed the agreement.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
under threat,
Yeah, under
they
threat about the army things. Yeah. So security problem in the
yeah. But the circumstances now with China are very different,
yes.
and they won't agree.
So tariff is the one way to protect the economic invasion by the China to protect the every country's industry.
Sure, but again, if
Mm.
you start putting tariffs on Chinese steel,
Mhm.
then every process that requires imported steel becomes more expensive, and that will become final consumers will pay for that.
But if there is no China country, so we can buy just the steel from the domestic company or the other countries' companies, except for the China. Well,
If the Japanese steel manufacturers
Mhm.
can produce enough, that's true.
Yeah,
That's the question.
yeah. So I think they can do that because they are exporting, especially about the steel company. So I think Japanese steel industry can supply the demand, the Japanese economy.
So why aren't they?
Sorry?
それができるんだったらなぜやってないのかっていうご質問。
Yeah. So because there is no tariff to the
Yeah,
China.
but so where you said they're exporting Japanese steel.
その関税の、はい。ちょっと噛み合ってないと思うんですけど、その関税が、輸出するほど作ってるから、
うん。
国内の需要も満たせるはずだよっていうことを、おっしゃってると思う
I
ん
see.
ですよ
So
ね。
now the Japanese economy, what the Japanese economy doing is that product a lot steel and Japanese economy buy some of the steel by the Japanese steel company and the rest of them are exporting to the other country. And Japanese people buy the Japanese steel, also the Chinese steel, because Chinese steel is cheap. So, but
Okay, but
we do not need the Chinese steel because it is unfair. So we
no, I
just
understand the argument, but how is Japanese steel manufacturers, how are they competitive in the global market? If they're exporting, they must be competitive.
Yes. So their steel is a bit expensive, more expensive than the Chinese one, but still the quality is higher than the Chinese steel. That's the
Okay.
point. But
Okay, so
this is
all right. So the solution is that the Japanese government impose quality standards on steel on manufacturers who use who use steel as inputs.
Yes. But
That's
that's
the
the way.
solution.
Okay. So your
And see,
argument.
that goes back to the point
Yeah.
that you can do things that you've got control over. Trying to get the Chinese to cooperate is not going to be a successful strategy. So if Japanese steel is high quality, then impose quality standards, and therefore the Chinese steel will not be as competitive, irrespective of the Chinese exchange rate.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So your point is that Chinese government manipulation of currency is within their 主権ってなんていうんですかね。
sovereignty。sovereignty。
Sovereignty.
And so, Fujii-san was just saying that, he was asking whether, Mitchell-san, your point was that, it is, within the scope of China's sovereignty to manipulate and adjust. sovereignty っていうのが主権のことなんですね。はい。国家主権です。国の主権のことを sovereignty って言います。なんで、
So, understand. Yeah. So
その質問はお伝えしました。はい。
The Bill's point is that the even currency manipulation is within the sovereignty of the Chinese government.
Japan can't control that.
Okay. Understand
what you can control. Yeah, what you can control is market access to Japan. That's what you can control.
I see. So so the situation that the Japanese government do not that manipulation of the currency is the decision, the Japanese governmental decision. So that because the Japanese government decided that not to manipulate, but still they want to win the competition of the steel in the free market. Only way the Japanese government can take is just support their domestic companies. That's your point.
Yeah, you could either have, if it's true that Japanese steel is better steel, higher quality, then impose quality standards. That's or provide income support to the steel manufacturers. They're policies that the Japanese government has control over and has discretion over.
Yeah.
Forget what Chinese government does. Concentrate on things that the Japanese government has the sovereignty to do.
So your point is that you are thinking that the Chinese government is not unfair.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we don't have the power to alter Chinese government policy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So therefore we should be concentrating to be productive in our thinking. We should be thinking of alternative strategies that we've got discretion over and control over. You can bang your head against the brick wall only so many number of times.
さっきからディスクレッションっておっしゃってるのが、日本が政府としての自己裁量権があるのは、それこそさっきからみちゃちゃんがおっしゃってると、品質、海外からの、これは中国を今念頭に話してますけども、鉄鋼製品を輸入する、それを使うときに国内で使う、日本で使うと言っても品質規格をもっと上げちゃって、上げちゃって、日本の鉄鋼のね、品質はもともといいわけですから、いけますよねっていうことで、じゃあ中国の製品品質がもっと低いっていうんだったら、日本で使う鉄鋼製品のもう品質規格基準を上げちゃえと。そこは日本は政府で自分で決めるでしょっていうことで、自分で何とかできることをやりましょうと。そうじゃなくて、中国のさっきから主権とかおっしゃってますけども、中国がもう主権で決められるね、ことを、例えば為替のね、操作とか、そこがマルアラ号の話も含めて、無理やり言うこと聞かそうとしたって、それは国の主権だってことになっちゃうんで、そういうちょっと無理筋のね、壁にぶち当たるようなことをやるよりも、
そういうことです。わかりました。
そうか。
And I still think that the American decision or the WTO's decision to introduce China to the WTO is not good because they're the country to manipulate the currency and they are the communism. How do you think about this point?
Look, if you think about America and Japan, so America has been complaining for years about access to the Japanese market. particularly for motor vehicle manufacturers.
Yes.
So that's been a common grievance by America. Oh, we can't sell our cars in Japan. Now, ask yourself the question. Is the reason that the American car corporations can't sell cars in Japan
No.
because of no access? No. The reason they can't sell cars in Japan is because they're so big and they're totally unsuited to the Japanese market. That's the reason. And it's not a tariff issue. Tariff's not going to solve that. In Japan, you have small cars because you've got small spaces and you've got better transport systems so people don't have to have a car. So the American grievances which have promoted these tariffs, in my view, are invalid. American manufacturing is producing goods that the rest of the world don't want. And the solution for America is to learn from that and start. If they want to access the Japanese car market, they need to produce smaller cars. That's the point.
Yeah. So
and it's the same in Australia. We don't buy too many American cars, not because of access. Any American producer can sell a car in Australia if they can find a buyer. The reason we don't buy cars from America is because they're unsuited to our needs. We've got the cars that Japan and Korea and China produce are better suited. They're targeted to our market.
Okay. So, yeah, I understand the point. As far as we have done the fiscal policy as much as we need, the tariff is not necessary, and Chinese manipulation of currency is not a problem, becomes not a problem. Yes, so therefore, we have to do the fiscal support as much as we need. This is the conclusion.
Concentrate on what you've got power to change.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. So then, I agree with you this point. But the problem that we are facing within Japan is that the government and the society their mindset is strongly austerity.
Yep.
Therefore, if we decided not to use the tariff at all, our economy was invaded by the China and the economy by the other country like India or something, because we are austerity. So actually, therefore we have to change the austerity mindset, and for that we need a big shock, fiscal big shock. So I think this is the best way what we should do. But now we make effort to change the government, and in any way, the Takaichi's cabinet is now existing instead of the austerity previous one. But still, it is not enough. We might take 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years to change completely the austerity mindset. Meanwhile, what we should do, then tariff is the second best strategy, even though it's not good at all. That is my thought, current thought, tentative thought.
Tentative thought, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good solution, but tentative solution just for the time being, tentative one.
If you think about the sociology in Japan, you had a big shock in 1991.
Yeah.
Massive shock.
Yeah, massive shock it was.
And for 34 years now, you've been locked into this austerity mindset as a consequence of that shock. The sociology is that people don't change quickly. And Japanese people are historically more resistant to change than, say, in the West. For good and bad. There's good and bad in
Good
it.
and bad.
It's not all bad, it's not all good. So you're correct in thinking that it's going to take some years and prolonged fiscal support for that mindset to change to a more optimistic outlook. And the role of government now should be to do everything they can to maintain support over a long period for those purposes. That's what I think the Japanese government should be doing. Because what you've seen in the last several decades is you have after the collapse in the early 1990s, fiscal support expanded. And then by 1996, you had all these economists saying, oh, you'll run out of money, you've got to increase taxes. So May 1990, was it April 1997, sales tax goes up. Recession occurs. You then have some more expansion, then another sales tax increase. So you have this stop-start process. You're never going to escape the austerity mindset that way. You need prolonged fiscal support for many years, and not this back and forth sort of, we'll have a bit and then we'll go back and one step forward, two steps back. That sort of, the Japanese government should send clear signals to corporations and households that we're going to maintain support and change this austerity mindset. That's what I've learned from my study.
Yeah. And one thing I can say to you is that after Takaichi cabinet established, people's feeling becomes quite positive. So during the Ishiba situation, so people feel the future would be worse than now.
Pessimism.
Yeah, pessimism. But after Takaichi-san cabinet, many people feel optimistic way of thinking. I think this is very good. But there are very strong austerity power inside the cabinet, inside the government, inside the LDP, inside the diet, inside the mass communications. So therefore, people's mind has changed for these years. That anti-austerity feeling, like other countries, like European countries and the United States also. But the people in the power are still austerity. So therefore, democratic process like election to make the Takaichi-san, the LDP, win highly. And the other anti-austerity party like Sanseitou and Kokumin Minshuto, like
Ishin.
Mr. Ishin. Ishin is rather austerity mind, has austerity mind, but Sanseitou and Kokumin Minshuto, Mr. Tamaki and Mr. Kamiya are the strongly anti-austerity people, and they are very popular now, and they won the previous national election strongly. Therefore, democratic power could change the government and make the Takaichi cabinet more anti-austerity.
Yeah.
If there is an election, national election, then I can have hope. Then, if so, they can do the big shock and they can do avoid the Mar-a-Lago agreement, the raise up tariff. Instead of raising up tariff and instead of changing Chinese manipulation strategy, they will just support the national national people, nation, industry, and household, the income, wages, etc.
Yeah, perfect.
Then our competition power to China is raising up, perhaps. Yeah, not perhaps, absolutely, definitely. So
I mean, the
Mm.
problem is that China is going to get stronger,
Yeah, yeah.
and it will eventually be the largest economy in the world. So, and that's because of the way in which they're structuring their development process. So we've got to react to that, and the worry I have is that we'll react to that in the wrong way, and it's the same in Europe with Russia. Russia is very threatening now, and if we don't react to that threat properly, there'll be geopolitical instability and war. So I think we should be seeing China as being an example of how strong fiscal support
Yes.
can help our domestic economies. That's what I think. Rather than go and cry like a baby and about, it's unfair or this, that, and the other, we see that what they're doing, we can do.
Yes, of course.
And let's do it.
Yeah. So we have just more 30 minutes, and I need to start the other meeting in 30 minutes. Therefore,
All right.
I want to ask final point. So, as I said in my document I sent to you last night,
Thank you.
I'm expecting that the Lehman Shock 2, the economic crisis, worldwide economic crisis, will happen soon, maybe next year something, because many indexes, like the stock market price in Japan, is almost same level as the level bubble crash, and the many other indexes imply the worldwide economic crisis happen soon. And Warren Buffett profit is now currency is the majority rather than the stocks. This is said that the sign of the economic crisis will soon. So this is just one example. So how do you think Do you feel the same things? The economic
Well,
crisis will happen soon.
I wouldn't use the word economic crisis. I would use the word financial crisis.
A financial crisis. Yes, yes.
And I think what most people don't really understand is how irrelevant the share market, the stock markets are. The financial markets are massive casinos,
Yes, yes.
gambling parlors. And instead of going into a pachinko parlor, they go into the financial markets. And the betting, they're betting agencies in a way, and they're mostly irrelevant to the rest of us. The daily transactions in the financial markets, only 1 or 2% of those transactions really matter for the real economy.
Yeah, just a few percent.
It's mostly just wealth shuffling. And the question then is, and I think what we know from the global financial crisis in 2008 is that the fiscal and monetary capacity of governments can always minimize the impacts of a major financial crisis.
Yes, yes.
We can always protect our banking system. We can always protect corporations in the real economy that are employing people and producing things. And I think that's my way of thinking, that yes, it looks like there's a bubble and it looks like it's going to burst. But I think governments now understand that they can intervene with fiscal and monetary policy to avoid that becoming contagious to the rest of us. So, and the damage is confined to shareholders and whatever. I don't think we're going to see a major crisis for the rest of us. That's what as long as governments respond properly. And I think they've learned how to respond because they had a trial run during the global financial crisis.
Yeah, completely agree. So I think that during the Lehman shock, the QE1, QE2 by Barack Obama, perhaps, isn't it? Obama quite work well. But the Japanese government again fell in that situation. President Aso tried to do that, but during the fiscal expansion, he was lost in the national election, and the other party's government has established, and they are not anti-austerity at all. Therefore, the damage by the Lehman shock expanded, unfortunately.
Yeah. So the opposite, say in Australia, we kept growing through the global financial crisis.
You kept
because we kept growing because the fiscal stimulus was very large.
I see.
And so we were one of the very few countries that didn't have a recession.
I see. Yeah.
So there's lessons to be learned.
Yeah. So therefore, I advise the cabinet people that global financial crisis might happen soon. therefore, you have to prepare for that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, another point is that not another. So, but you also expecting the near futures crisis?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think we've got to a situation where
Mhm.
speculative financial behavior is completely out of all proportion
Mhm.
to reality.
Mhm.
And when we have those types of bubbles, they usually crash.
Mhm.
And the amount of money going into AI at the moment,
Mhm.
relative to the sort of revenue prospects, is just ridiculous.
Mhm.
So go back to the technology shock in the late 1990s. It was the same thing.
Mhm.
Too much speculative investment.
Mhm.
Someone's eventually going to get caught
Mhm.
holding too much exposure, debt exposure,
Yeah.
and not enough revenue. So I think you're correct. There's going to be a correction,
Mhm.
but I don't believe that should become a major
Mhm.
real economy shock,
Mhm.
because I think governments will be able to intervene. And
Mhm.
I hope the Japanese government learned from the global financial crisis.
Yeah. I hope so. So, another way of treating the global financial crisis is that to prevent the crisis. Of course, in the free market situation or in the capitalism, the Minsky, so-called Minsky moment would not be avoidable. It would be the unavoidable thing because of some circulation. But still, the size of the Minsky moment, the financial crisis, would be minimized, beforehand, not afterward. So your point is that after the Minsky moment crisis, the government can do the fiscal support and monetary support.
Yeah.
But we should previously the crisis do something to mitigate so that
Absolutely.
so regulations or some regulations is very important. Not too much free trade is quite dangerous about financial crisis. So what kind of regulation to be workable for you, in your opinion?
Well, when go back to the earlier,
Mhm.
every day there's lots of financial transactions,
Mhm. Mhm.
and a very small percentage of them
Mhm.
actually impact upon the real economy.
Mhm. I
So for example,
yeah,
forward contracts,
forward contract.
先
forward
物
con-
取引、先物取
I
引。
see, I see.
in exchange rates. So say if you've got a manufacturer
Mhm.
who's producing and paying their costs in their local currency,
Mhm.
but they're exporting and earning revenue in a foreign currency.
Mhm.
Well, then they're exposed to exchange rate changes.
Mhm. Mhm.
So a forward contract can minimize their exposure. That's a productive form of
Mhm.
speculative financial behavior.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the vast majority, like about 98% of all financial market transactions every day, are not of that type.
Mhm.
And they're basically just gambling against each other.
Just casino. Yeah.
And so the way I would, and I've written about this in the past,
Mhm.
I would have much tighter regulation
Mhm.
on what banks can what transactions banks can engage in.
うん
So what we've seen, certainly in the lead up to the global financial crisis,
うん
was we saw banks starting to become bettors, gamblers in the, highly exposed speculative
うん
transactions. Well, the government has the power to
うん
end that, to stop them doing that.
うん
And, I mean, we don't want to get too technical here, but they could force banks to hold all assets and liabilities on their own balance sheet. In other words, they couldn't securitize mortgages and then sell them off to third parties like they were doing in the global financial crisis,
うん
in the lead up to that.
うん
So
はいいや
I think there's a lot of transactions that governments should just ban outright, just make them illegal. We make a lot of trade in narcotics and drugs illegal. We could, because they're damaging. We could do the same thing with a lot of financial transactions that are of no benefit to anybody other than the winners of the gambling.
うん
That'd be a preventative measure.
うん OK。そう、すいません。おおよそ分かったと思うんですけど、要するに、
はい。
ファイナンシャ
そうですね。
ルのトランザクションに何かタックスとかをかけて、こっちに、
税
実物
金と
マーケットに
いう、
戻すっていうことですよね。
い
で、
え、税金ということはおっし
税
ゃって
金というか、
なくて、そうですね。さっきメーカーの例を挙げておっしゃったように、あんまりこの実体経済に、影響するような、この投機的な取引の中で実体経済にね、なるようなものわずかであって、
うん、
はい。で、銀行がね、結局この、さっきからカジノとおっしゃってますけども、そういうことをやってるために、こういったそのバブルにつながるような状況が起こっちゃうんで、それを止めたいですよね、ということで、で、政府は何をできるかというところで、具体的に言うと、ちょっと、テクニカルな話になるんですけども、銀行がですね、そういった、そのバブル崩壊につながるような投機的なレベルまで投機的取引に入れ込みすぎるのを止めると、途中で止めると、さっき藤井さんがおっしゃった、そのね、前もって止めたいという意味でおっしゃってるんですけども、で、そのために具体的に、これは、ちょっと会計的な話になるんだけれども、バランスシートっておっしゃってるのは、貸借対照表ね、じゃないですか。で、資産とか負債とか、資本が載ってる、貸借対照表。これに全部載っけるようにさせろと。なんで全部載っけさせるというと、母外に、帳簿の外に都合の悪い、資産とか負債を、追っつけちゃう。他の、さっきモーゲージとおっしゃったんですけども、譲渡抵当の、債務かな。そういったものを、要は、その、譲渡抵当って、モーゲージっていうの、平たく言うと住宅ローンのような債務、ね、会社もやっぱり持ってるじゃないですか。で、そういうものを、第三者というか、債務をね、売っちゃうって今できるじゃないですか。売っちゃえば、母外にできますよね。貸借対照表に載せなくてよくなるじゃないですか。それはいわば、違法じゃないかもしれないですよね、今はね。違法じゃないんで、そういうことをやって、都合の悪い負債を貸借対照表に載せなくていいですよね、そういうことをやると。で、そうやって負債、都合の悪いというか、結局、見栄えが悪くなるような額の負債になっちゃった場合に、要するにそうやって追っつけちゃう。典型的には売るという形で、要するに追っつけちゃう、負債項目があれば、もうそうやって追っつけちゃって、はい。母外に逃がしちゃうんですよね。そうすると、貸借対照表の、貸借対照表、言い換えると、そのストックの状況は、より健全に見えるわけですよね。
わかります、わかります。
負債が増え、こんな、本当は、
全部
で、
出したらいいっ
それを、
ていうか、全部出したらそれでよくな
全部
るだ
出して
ろうってことです、か。
なんですけど、結局今私が、すみません、ミッチェルさんが例を挙げて、母外にね、逃がすというようなことをした、そういう取引を、やめさせると、違法にすると。今は違法じゃないんで、
やめさせるだけで、それが一つの案だとおっしゃってるわけですね。
一つの案ですね。 はい。そうです。最後におっしゃったのは、そういった、ことを不法にするっていうのが一つの案であって、そういったその企業の、ここでのは銀行って今つけての、そういった企業のその金融取引に入れ込んじゃってるような企業の、資産状況を正確に反映できないような状態にすることが今できるわけじゃないですか。そうやって妨害に
だからもう、
流すこと。
結論言ってください。もうちょっと時間がないので。
だからそれを、それ
っ
を不法にすればいいと。
ていうことを言ってくれるだけですね。
はい、はい。
だけですね。わかりました。
例えばそういうことです。はい。
Okay, so your suggestion is a bit complex in English for me, so therefore the translator explained what you said. Okay, I understand. The transparency is very important of the company's balance sheet. Yeah, that's one way. And another way, what do you think? What is the other uh, suggestion?
Well, I think the general point
Mhm.
is that we want to regulate away things that are likely to be damaging that don't add to well-being of the population.
すみません。これは何とおっしゃってました？
さっきの金融の取引の中身ではなくて、一般の、国民一般の福利、福祉、ウェルビーイングとかウェルフェア、そういったところに不利益になるような、企業活動を規制するということです。
I mean, there's all sorts of
Okay.
technical things I could talk about, like
Mm.
making over-the-counter transactions illegal and all of those things, but that's too complicated for this discussion.
I
The
see. I see. The
the
regulation about. Okay.
the general point is that the government has the capacity through legislation and regulation to reduce the exposure of the economy to financial contagion. That's the general point, and it should do so.
So I thought that international money transaction is the cause of the global financial crisis. Therefore, the regulation about the global money transaction would be effective to mitigate the crisis. That's what I thought. So, for example, that we invest in the United States, the car company, and they earn and they transfer to Japan. So when the transfer, so they can get tax, the transaction tax, so maybe some few percent something. So then this is not for the budget, of course. This is
Yeah.
for the mitigation of the bank,
Yep.
or make the capitalism activity more domestic, rather international.
Yep.
This is another way. And also to
I
for
mean,
the
the
investment.
one of the main reasons
Mhm,
for the global financial crisis
mhm,
was that the banks
mhm.
became very greedy and
Yeah.
started to extend credit
Mhm,
to borrowers who they knew they couldn't pay the loans.
mhm,
And then they would bundle up those loans and sell them to a third party.
mhm,
These were these securitized assets.
mhm,
And the problem is that eventually it was going to explode
mhm,
because those loans eventually have to be paid back.
mhm,
And eventually the originator of the loans had sold the loans off to another speculator,
mhm,
and eventually the loans couldn't be repaid because the quality of the borrower was too low.
mhm,
That was the problem. So the solution was that the regulation on bank lending was too weak. The banks could get away with lending money to people that couldn't pay them back, and then they would offload those loans to other speculators. That has to be stopped. And governments can force that onto banks to improve the quality of their loans and not to be able to offload the loans to third parties. Because if a bank has to hold all of its loans itself, then it will be much more careful in who it lends money to. If it can offload the loans to another speculator, then it doesn't matter. It just lends to anybody.
I see. So
That's the
like
problem.
like a subprime problem in the United States, 2008 something.
Yeah.
It should be stopped by means of like your suggestion.
Yeah. The so-called no-doc loans. The no-doc loans were loans to people that didn't have documents that could prove they could pay them back. So they were just lending to anybody. And that sort of behaviour is driven by greed and can be regulated away, can be legislated out of question.
So I felt that during or after the Lehman shock, so this kind of discussion would be accelerated to how to regulate the Lehman shock things. But in reality, it's not so much
That's
after
true.
that.
That's true.
So people want to continue their foolish behavior for
Yeah.
1 years.
Humans are very short-sighted and they're very greedy.
Yeah.
That's the
So
problem.
if we think so, Chinese government do good job in terms of economic or financial policy,
They do.
even though the Chinese people seems not to have enough human right.
That's the problem.
That's a problem. But according to the policy, their
There's
policy,
some balance.
yeah,
Some balance that we have to find where we accept more regulation
yeah,
and still preserve our basic freedom.
yeah.
And I think what neoliberalism has done is shift that balance towards too much freedom and not enough regulation.
Yeah.
And that has allowed those with a lot of power to be greedy and cause these problems.
Yes. So, but if we have a good democracy, we can still, even though in the situation of liberalism, we can still we can maximize the power of governmental good policy. Then we can regulate the too much free financial trading, and
That's
we
right.
can mitigate the impact of the financial problem and the many kinds of problems, including this big earthquake and the many other unexpected crises by
Yeah.
means of the enough fiscal policy
That's right.
based on the democracy. If we
That's
can
right.
change the people's mindset.
There was no question about the tsunami and great earthquake, and a financial crisis is no different.
Yes. So thank you very, very much. Thank you so much for 3 hours discussion. So actually, I asked every point what that I wanted to ask you. So and I understand many points.
That's good.
I get to be clever after these three discussion
No,
with you.
no, it's been very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice discussion. Let's keep in touch. So, if the currency is to the inflation in Japan, not too much, you are please welcome to please come back again to
We'll,
Japan.
we'll be back next year.
Yeah. So let's see the exchange rate of currency. But anyways, I hope you come back to Japan again, and let's
Okay.
continue this discussion. Yeah.
Okay, all the best.
Yeah. Thank you so
Bye.
much. So we will
Onegaishimasu.
upload this to the YouTube in my
Thank you.
homepage. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so
See
much.
you.
Then see you. Bye bye.
Thank you to all your helpers. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.